Hi, welcome to another episode of
Hard Take or Big Take. I'm Weiren.
I'm Nicholas.
And together we are an education lifestyle podcast where each week we take a topic, discuss it, and at the end of the day, decide whether or not it is interesting, which is
Hard Take,
or frustrating, which is
Big Take.
Okay, so for today's podcast, it's going to be a pretty fun podcast. Okay, so we're going to be talking about one of the top few shows on Netflix in Singapore for the past few weeks. So we are talking about none other than the new Korean drama, Teach You a Lesson.
Yep.
So I didn't know about this, but until you mentioned it to me one day. So you told me, wow, this show is very, very good. Please go watch it. And then I'm very happy to tell you that I finally
Watch the show.
I finally got around to watching it last week. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I haven't finished everything.
Okay.
So maybe today you'll probably be giving me some
So for lack of spoiler alerts, well, I'll just post some spoilers. But I think, Weiren, you know that we are busy people. So
Yes.
if myself, I finished the drama in 2 nights. I binge watch, and this is on one-time speed. I never speed up. I think coming from myself, I'm very picky in terms of time that I spend in front of the telly.
Yes.
I really don't want to watch telly if I don't have to. And no one recommended this to me, but rather it was more on YouTube Shorts, whereby I saw that there was this viral show whereby there was a teacher, or in this case here, a bureau investigator, and he will come to a school and he does a lot of things that otherwise
normal teachers wouldn't do.
And personal authority wouldn't do without repercussion. Alright, and it seems that he has backing. And I think that because I think as per YouTube Shorts, they took all the highlights, then eventually it was very patchy. So I actually went to delve into the show itself. So speaking with regards to this show, Teach You a Lesson, I think the viewers know that we are an education center. Okay, so basically I have suppressed emotion. Alright, so it is very impossible for me to say that there are some days when the student came, alright, and they chai lei in my class, or they kena in my class, alright, they're late, they're tardy, they don't do their work, they tell lies, or even there are cases whereby they use tuition as an alibi to play truancy. So we have had been at the end of the stake many times, and oftentimes I think that as a tuition center, we do not have the kind of authority, and usually we are sort of like second-class citizens as compared to schools. Alright, so there are students who come and tell me that my school just say I should do this and not do that. Not to contest, but I was hoping the student keep a more open mind in terms of different methods to approach a question. Students who, again, they do something in class, they go back and tell their parents something else, and then it's being misconstrued in the communication, and parents who are nice, they'll come down and really just clarify with us, but parents who aren't, and you know that we are service provider, they will just withdraw, but they will smear us on our Google business. And you know, things like that is gone, is really gone. So this show itself, it in a way, in a lack of a better word, it's like my fantasy came true.
One of our staff described it as like a power fantasy for teachers, right?
Alright.
Because there's so many things that we wish that we could like just enact on the students.
Yes.
But then like we cannot, because otherwise it will be like assault or not, just simply not appropriate.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, but to be honest, this show is a fantasy. Alright,
Yes,
I feel that even in Singapore, even if such an education special investigation bureau to be set up, I don't think the government will empower any one person with this kind of power to come and do all this kind of nonsense and get away with it.
So those of you who have not seen the show, basically let's give a brief overview.
Okay, a brief overview. Okay, so the starting scene, you know, Korean always have this particular cliche whereby high school bullying is rampant.
Yes.
Alright, and teachers are powerless about it, and usually it's because the bully themselves, they are white elephants They have parents with political backings, or they are parents who make a significant donation to the school. Alright, so the starting scene was one guy. Alright, he was on the brink of ending his own life because he has been bullied. Alright, so the bully, alright, the perpetrator itself will take a mop and place over the person's head and say that you are the designated bully of the month, or the designated bully of the year.
The designated
Outcast. Very good. So to make this even more humiliating, they asked the previous outcast to hand over the reign by putting the mop on this new person's head. Now all this happened just because the bully was teasing a female teacher, and this soon-to-be outcast actually stood up and said like, can you stop the ruckus, and can you like please respect the teachers? And then the whole class decided, or in fact the bully decided that he should be the next outcast itself. And I think there was this particular saying, I cannot remember through where, but somehow it feels like it's related to like Hitler and Nazi. Alright, is that the way for bad men to flourish is actually for good men to do nothing.
To be silent.
To be silent. So what happened here is that all the classmates, they are very aware and sentient of the whole bullying process, but none of them speak out. And even the teachers who are observing itself did not say anything because the bully has a father who is soon to be PM or running for PM, Prime Minister itself from there. With that itself, the opening scene then cue over to one of the bully henchmen trying to slap the previous outcast. And he looked at the previous outcast feeling that you are very unhappy that you're being mistreated. Why not I let you hit me back? Why not I let you slap me back? And then this is where the cutscene came through, whereby the main protagonist came, the main character came, and just, with a very high pump, he just lay the smackdown on this person's face. And then this person flew out from there. So how do you feel at the moment when you saw the protagonist just slap the henchman of the bully?
I think that it's slightly cathartic, because when you see somebody who uses violence on people for no apparent reason other than your own personal enjoyment, right? Then it seems that all other means to take care of this group of bullies have failed, right? And then somebody comes along and actually is able to enact violence and give him a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah. I feel what elevated the entire scene was the cacophony of the sounds. The student was silent, then everyone started to cheer. It's those suppressed emotion of oh my god, someone is really here to bail me out. It's really here to teach the henchman a lesson.
Yeah.
I think it also, this particular first episode, I think it was very impressionable because then after that, the protagonist actually went to look for the father. All right, the father, which is the politician that wants to be a PM, and this is where the whole story unfolds. All right, whereby he did make aware of the son wrongdoings to the father, and lo and behold, the father didn't change his expression because it seems that he's aware of it. And in fact, he did put a very gentle warning to the protagonist that if you know who I am, you will stop this harassing. You should protect my son. Itself from there. So I feel that this first episode, the theme, do you feel is more on nepotism?
Yes.
It's also a sort of like a abuse of power.
Yes, abuse of power. Basically, this kid knows that his dad is occupying a very powerful position, right? And then he feels that he can get away with anything without any sort of repercussions, and therefore he enacts all this power harassment.
Correct. If you liken yourself to be the classmate who is witnessing the bullying, or whereby the bullier is a white horse, how would you have felt?
To be honest, when I think that there is some form of abuse of power, these are clearly things which are wrong, right? Okay. These are clearly things that are wrong. We're not just talking about, he used his white horse power to gain a slight edge over other people, or maybe to gain a backdoor entry into university. This kid is actually doing things which are hurting and harming other people.
Okay.
Right? So I feel that this is something which is totally unacceptable,
because
white horse or not. I suppose whether or not we want to say that if let's say a white horse used his power and influence to get into a prestigious university, by and large, it's unfair, but you're not causing physical harm to somebody else. Okay. But in this case, there is clear physical harm, right?
And do you feel in Singapore meritocratic society,
yes.
If let's say I were to wrap this argument more in, I just want to go on this statement whereby you say that there is a slight edge in entering backdoor to the university. Do you think that this is fair also as well?
Of course, I don't think it's fair because if let's say this kid doesn't get in on his own merit, right? Then you're depriving another kid of getting in on their own merit, right?
Okay.
So I think this is clearly not fair.
Okay.
But I feel that in this sort of situation, again, number one, you're not causing physical harm. Okay. Number two, of course, there's a missed opportunity, but opportunities are found everywhere, right? Okay. It's just, I think this is a thing which can be debated about. But I feel that at the end of the day, causing physical harm is really a clear line and very, very way past the line of decency, which it truly deserves some sort of repercussion.
So, episode 1, we talk about students being the perpetrator.
Yes.
All right. So, I think something good about this show is that they cycle through very closely related theme to the education, because I think it's Holy Trinity, parents, students
and teachers, right? Yeah.
So, in episode number 5,
yes.
All right, I think this itself, it threw me a little bit back. All right. Episode number 5, let me just set the scene over here, is with regards to a preschool teacher.
Yes.
All right, so this is a greenhorn, just came out of school, her first job extremely passionate. Alright, she do journaling about all the initiatives that she's doing for the kids. It turns out that she has a relatively soft-spoken kid in the class. And the first day, the mother came up after the whole parents-teacher introduction and say, please take care of my child. Alright. And it started off very, I'll say it's a little bit innocuous at the start because other parents doesn't really come and talk to the teacher, but just trust that the teacher is doing her best of the job. But every time when the kid go back and say that, oh, today teacher asked me up to the board to do work. Today teacher asked me for my opinion. The parents will contact the teacher.
The parent will contact the teacher to say that, hey, why you make my son go up to the board? You will affect his self-esteem. Why you use negative language like no, don't, this is forbidden, right? So why, because it will affect his self-esteem, why you make him play sports with other kids because the other kids will be rough with him.
Exactly.
Right?
So I think this started off with like a message through the school inbuilt app.
Yes.
And somehow or rather, the parents got the mobile number of the teacher and started to go through the private line and eventually went to the social media of the teacher. And I think one of the line here is that the teachers, she claimed, wears very suggestive clothing. In this case here, I think it's maybe like her bra strap was like revealed or something like that. And then the teacher said, how can you wear that in front of my child? And finally, when the teacher does not accede to any of the requests and asks to back off a little bit, the mom threatened to send the husband down to say like, oh, if you're going to do that, my husband will be coming. And the husband came down and just pulled the boy out of the class. And I think this undermines the teacher authority. And to make this a little bit more, I think it's just for dramatic effect, she actually went to the principal. The teacher went to the principal for help, but the principal said that we are at the mercy of the parents. So I tried before, I was like you before, but I realized that it was futile to fight.
So I think this was a particularly frustrating episode for me to watch. Okay, I personally felt that this episode was difficult because there were so many points which was very, very unbelievable, right? So I think if let's say we have this kind of parent that's really harassing you every day, every night, what will be your first instinct? If the parent really, they try to reach your personal number, what will be your first instinct?
I won't put this as a hypothetical question because in my line of work, I encountered this before. I did. So just to give the listeners a bit of a context, I have a Korean parent. Right, her child was with me. So when I am coming to class and the daughter is very soft-spoken, she will say, why you didn't, this is a bit opposite, why you didn't ask my daughter a question? Why you didn't check whether does my daughter knows what's happening? Why you didn't ask my daughter to come up to the board to present her answer? Why you cannot give her extra
So basically
lesson?
it's the story, this story like you actually experienced it.
Yeah, I experienced it. And I think I was fortunate at the point of time because I stood for myself. I said like, whatever I'm doing is for the best of the child. So I remember she was very upset that I was sick even after I produced the MC. I said that she mentioned, how can you be sick? And she said that, can you preempt me 1 year in advance when you're going to be sick so that I can make changes to my child's schedule for replacement? So it now brings us on being absurd, all right? Because like, how do I preempt my illness? So I think fortunately, because we are an education center, all right, we can be a bit more picky on our customer. I did tell the parent that I'm going to pose you the same question, all right, but how are you going to be able to answer me? Can you preempt me when will your child actually be sick? When I'm being challenged with all this, it's just one parent. And I think that the show, for dramatic effect, shows repeated notification from the social media and from the messages. I feel that if your mind is not strong enough and you don't have an avenue to express your displeasure or to like manage your expectation, I think you will implode mentally. Because the show did show that the female protagonist was so afraid to even go to her phone. Because every time there's a buzz, she thought that like, it's a little bit like a Pavlovian kind of a response. There's a buzz, is this parent trying to respond to me? So I think the hero of the show actually came in and then he became the substitute teacher.
He turned the tables and then he keep calling the parent, right?
To let the parent have a taste of their own medicine and tell the parent that, you want me to be overly enthused, I will be overly enthused. In fact, I will literally surrender my autonomy. Before I do anything, every single thing, I will ask your permission first. So I feel like this is a relatively real thing more for tuition rather than school, because I think schools have I want to believe very proper channels. Even like person numbers of teachers are not given.
They don't give,
but I mean, in the nature of our business, our person numbers.
So I think for us, right, as tuition teachers, usually we give our own personal numbers. I think that's why a lot of our younger tutors also, before they join us, they will get work numbers.
Work number.
Right. So I personally feel that this is the healthy thing to do.
Yes.
Right. So I personally felt my problem with this episode is why the teacher, since there's an official channel, because it was explained that the official channel to contact the teacher is via
through the
some
app,
right?
Yep.
So this particular teacher kept answering the parent, kept answering. Then I don't know why the teacher didn't block. Then the social media account, so I don't know why she didn't make it private.
So I feel like either the teachers was very, how do I say, vulnerable, or more of like the teacher still holds a whole heart of I want to help. If you're really reaching out to me, and I think that the finale of this episode was when the parents actually back off, alright, and the boy who was relatively soft spoken, the whole burden of him, not thriving is actually because his parents are very, very dominating. And after that, he flourished. I think he went back with the female protagonist. They were in the small little tent, and then they really expressed themselves and stuff. And I think that, like I said, this is a tripartite between parents, student, as well as teachers. Like, everyone has to exercise a certain degree of autonomy and understands that we are doing it for the child.
Yeah.
All right. And making mistakes and having some real life examples of maybe even calling up to the board, telling you no and all. These are things that when you're in the real world, who's going to shelter you and mollycoddle you for that? But,
so another thing that when I was watching this particular episode, that was particularly difficult for me was all throughout the episode, right? Me and my wife, we are both teachers. So we kept asking, where is the school leadership?
Yes.
What is the school leadership doing?
Yep.
Right. So why is the school leadership not advocating for the teacher and not standing up for the teacher? And I think being a boss of like junior tutors within our center, people who are like fresh graduates and people who are young, basically in their mid to late 20s, right? So I take a very strong stance when it comes to making sure that the parents don't come and makan my teachers.
Don't hantam and overstep the boundary.
Yeah. So I think there have been a few times already where a particular parent has been very, very nitpicky with regards to some of it. And by and large, when there is a little bit of pressure that is being laid on our tutors, I will personally let my tutors go and handle okay, because they need to know what it's like they need to get baptized a little bit. But once I see that things are going a little bit too far and then the parents start to get a little bit more like, hey, why you never do this for my kid? Why you never do that for my kid? And my tutors don't know what to do. I make it a point to always give, I think you and me both, we always make it a point to give our tutors a safe space to not just approach us and then say, hey, Weiren, Nicholas, how do I handle this particular parent? So at that point, both you and me, we also have the autonomy to hey, you want me to just step in and then deal with this parent for you or not?
So I think having a leadership that watches out for the staff is important. And let's just put it in a very clean way to the listeners out there. 我们不会包庇我们的老师, meaning if our teachers are wrong, we will apologize. However, if you take advantage of our tutors, because our tutors are junior for some of them, and you feel like you can arm twist them to do special replacement for you, whereby you are the one who misses lesson and you want them to come back at some absurd hours, then we have to step in and protect them. And I feel that if you work in an environment whereby the leadership is behind your back, but yet doesn't lend you support when you don't deserve any support at all, and also give you room to grow, to navigate, and also to engage with parents, I feel like it's a safe space to work here. And you know that you will not be thrown under the bus. I think the tagline here is you won't be thrown under the bus.
We won't throw our
because I think for the childcare that's in the show, and also for us, our teachers are our assets. Alright. So we don't rely on our materials, our books and videos, but this is actually the instructor, the tutors itself. So I feel that we have to protect our assets. Alright, so we have mentioned about student being the perpetrator. We have mentioned about parents being the perpetrator. Alright, so in the next portion here, I want to talk about this one. I feel it could be rampant in Singapore, but it might either be swept under the rug or this doesn't really happen in Singapore. But now I cycle back to student being the perpetrator, but let's call this student the ringleader. Alright, so in this episode 7 over here, alright,
I haven't gotten there yet.
You haven't gotten there
so
yet.
I'll be listening to spoilers.
Spoiler for you, okay? We are talking about students. One particular ringleader will come up to this kid and show that he is making a windfall from online gambling. So you and I know gambling, whether is it from the bio side of things on dopamine, or whether is it in the loss of large number, alright, it's a losing thing. You will never outwin the odds itself from there. So but the scary part about apps itself, all right, if let's say gambling is actually what they're trying to hook you on, it's the whole psychological effect of I let you win, front load the winnings,
Yes.
making you think that, hey, this is easy, I let you cash out, and then after that, you're hooked on it already, then we'll go with the loss of large number, eventually you lose. But this particular episode was even more scary, and because what they did was that this ringleader will first recruit people to play the game. All right, but he will be the one that's demoing to show that he always wins. But of course, his app is pretty rigged.
Yeah.
So others will be playing. Then after that, eventually these others will lose money, but yet they are so hooked, they need money, right? So this ringleader say, hey, I know of this man who know this man who will give you loans.
Who entrap you by into taking loans from loan sharks.
Correct. So you take loan from them, and because you're so into the whole labyrinth of gambling, you don't really care about the interest. You just sign away, and the interest just rolls every day, and you perpetually keep losing. And it turns out that the gambling company and the loan shark, they're the same. Then eventually, because you cannot service your loan, right, they will then pull you back for you to become their henchman to do work to pay off your debt.
The same thing lah.
So now you become the ringleader lah.
Yes.
So some might be like the recruiter, and some might be at the back end, those that knows how to code, they will be the SMS one. Oh, you want this token, download now for this.
Yeah.
So they're sending out all the different.
So this is a whole kind of syndicate, right?
Yeah, it's a syndicate. So I think the scary part here is that for the victim, once they are entrapped into this, they are stuck. They can't get out. Because your potential earnings, you can't earn from the app, all right? Your potential interest just gets snowballs, and if you do pay, you're just servicing the interest. You're not servicing the principal itself from there. So I think back into Singapore context, fortunately I never hear of any like online gambling syndicate like for targeting students. But what I feel potentially could be on a slippery slope will be students that play games that has in-app purchases.
Yes.
Okay, so famously itself, there's Roblox.
Yes.
All right, there is Clash Royale. Clash Royale maybe a little bit outdated already. There is also a Clash of Clans, which is also pretty outdated, and Brawl Stars. So all these games, Mobile Legend, I see my students playing. The in-app purchase are pretty harmless. It's like maybe a skin or your avatar.
Yeah.
All right, but eventually there are some very, very beneficial in-app purchase that supercharge your character. Yeah, like you have an unfair advantage. And the thing here is that I don't know if you've heard of this term. It's called power creep. Power creeping.
Actually.
Okay, so in Genshin Impact, which is a relatively popular game, they will have to pay money to draw gacha.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe they will tell you that, hey, this season the gacha, all this character A is the most broken character. Or you have this character in your arsenal, very, very broken, all right, very overpowered. But then the next season, they have power creep. Because the next season, all of the draws itself are just more powerful than the most powerful creature of the previous season. So it power creep, making you keep buying because you want to be the top of the meta. You have to keep buying and buying back. And with it being said, those good pools, whether they look good or whether they are powerful, they are, because Genshin I think is made by a China company, they are forced to disclose the odds of getting. And the odds are really stacked against you. I don't know why anyone in the right mind would do it. Then they will do it. And to make it even more harmless, all right, because I won't say I'm into online gambling, but I do loot boxes. All right, to make it even more exciting and all, there's this particular thing called the PT timer. Are you aware of the PT timer?
No.
Okay, so if you do gacha, they will say that within 10 pools, if you don't get what you get, the number 10 pool will be a powerful pool. Okay, so it means that you pool, they will definitely make you the first 9 times you get all the nonsense. All right, but the last pool, right, you definitely will get
guaranteed.
So it's called a PT timer. So most people, they are prepared to just spend all 10 already because they know that it's rigged such that number 10 is the thing that you want from them. So you see all these kind of things, right? They have mechanics, and I'm pretty sure all these app developer, they engage psychologists or the studies the mental, and I think that children, students, pupils, and even sometimes adults, I think the younger one are even more mentally vulnerable because they can't have the thing of saying that, hey, I'm trapped in this cycle.
They don't have this full like impulse control, right?
They'll just whack, and then whose credit card is it?
It's the parents'
credit card. So which leads me to the story. On TikTok, there is a boy that is 13 years old, went online TikTok to buy cards, Pokemon cards. Got his parents' credit card. At that time, I think on TikTok, the cards itself was gambling mechanics. So it's basically you pay a short price, you pull a card out, and you see what cards. It's called Kuji lah. Kuji itself from there. So the streamer keep enticing this particular person to buy, and eventually spends $5,000 to $6,000 for cards that was worth less than $80.
But at the end of the day, was the streamer aware that this kid was
No.
Well, this
No,
was just a kid.
because TikTok itself, the terms and conditions of service is that you have to be 18. But how? How do you implement? That's what I'm thinking.
So the streamer cannot be held fully liable either because he didn't know that he was like trying to entice or trying to like get this kid to spend more money.
Yeah,
right?
so that's why I am very for the idea. I mean, it's a bit invasive, but China does that now. They have KYC when kids are downloading game apps. So know your customers. So I think Singapore has a very robust SingPass system. So like, do we want to have this KYC?
Why not use SingPass to verify your age before you actually go onto social media as well as games? And then, it is kind of invasive, but I think maybe it might be a necessary evil.
I mean, it's a national measurement, So have you ever known someone or even yourself been caught in an addiction loop for a service, an object, a hobby? Or...
To be honest, for this kind of addiction, which is very, very luck based, right? You know my luck my gambling luck is terrible So every time you ask me, I know you are into Pokemon cards. Every time you ask me to pick packs, right? The packs always when you
shit,
all terrible one. So things like Toto 4D, right? Big Sweep, right? My parents will always ask me to buy. I don't. I will never ever win anything.
But yourself personally, I mean, in terms of like monetary gambling, hook onto a hobby.
I think there was a period of time where I think as well. This was I think during COVID. GameStop.
GameStop.
Yeah, during GameStop, I remember that this was this is so exciting, but then this is so
terrible.
It's terrible So I remember the GameStop prices kept going up and up and up and up and up and up, and then eventually all the trading companies they decided to halt. And then after that, you cannot sell, you cannot buy back, right? Then lose money,
lose money.
So I remember thinking like, wow, okay, this is so exciting, but then I cannot deal with this. I cannot deal with it. It's also part of the reason why I don't deal with this like probability-based things because I cannot deal with the stress.
And you're a math person also, right?
I'm a math person also because I know that the numbers won't work against me.
So for the listeners and the viewers out there, I say this again, we mentioned it in our previous episode before. If the chance of you getting an object is 1 out of 10, it doesn't mean that if you do it 10 times, you'll definitely get the object, right?
Yes.
This is very, very important because the numbers are not exhaustive.
It's one out of 10 if you do it 1 billion times or 1 million and infinity times.
So it's a loss of large number, right? Okay. So I think this is very important. So I think this whole show is how we run. I highly recommend that you take some time to slowly watch it with your spouse.
Yes.
All right. I personally, spoiler, I feel that the climax of the show is nothing related to the whole education system problem. All right. The climax of the show is about his past. All right. But the previous few episodes, we only touched on number 1, number 5, and 7. 2, 3, 4, and 6, they are thematically very different. So we have one of them going to the effect of social media.
Yes.
I think that one is something that...
I think that was a particularly scary episode, right? Because if you have power in terms of the social media space, right, then you can do quite a lot of things with that
because while you hold domain as a teacher in the school, the kids is going to be out of school more than they are in the school. And spreading malicious light. And again, really, if you are very good in prompting AI, you can generate images that is so convincing nowadays that people otherwise thought that it's real. So just again, for the listeners out there, I think that particular episode, the student felt maligned by the school teachers. Well, the school teachers
over a small thing.
So she actually did a live stream. Then she showed that her face was a little bit more mangled and like her shirt was a little bit torn and said that the teacher sexually assaulted her. Well, that's it. Like, how do you clear your name over that? And because she has amassed a pretty big follower,
and then people start to dox the teacher,
dox the teachers, and the teachers actually killed himself. So I think today's podcast, while it's cathartic at the start where we talk about, wow, these are all the things I would have wanted to do, I would have wanted to do this and that, but I feel bringing it back to a Singapore context over here, I think education, I just want to remind everyone, is really everyone's responsibility. All right. So we are parents. We have been kids before. We are now educators itself. So I think as educators, me and Viren, and also for our team over here, we feel like it's a privilege. Right? I mean, there's so many tuition centers. You chose us, you are loyal to us, you stick with us, you give us a chance to hone our skills, and you trust us. So I think not just to the listeners, but also to our students, all the parents who are engaging us, we thank you for that. But we also feel like at a certain stage, if we mollycoddle a child too much, we stifle their whole propensity to grow and to deal with things responsibly as an adult.
Yeah.
All right. Today's topic, how do you feel? Is it a tactic or a big tick topic?
I generally have mixed feelings about the show. On one hand, I do feel that it's very unrealistic, but on the other hand, it is cathartic in some way. You know, the themes that this show deals with, I feel overall it touches on the whole issue of bullying, be it from the parent, the teacher, the student, and there is no simple solution. Very often there is no simple solution. And I know that this particular show just showcases the most extreme cases, right?
Yes.
But I think very often the truth of the matter is things are a lot more subtle. Bullying can be a lot more subtle and can go unnoticed in many ways. So to me, I feel that this is a big take.
It's a big tick topic.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like for this, to me, I just take my stance. I say it's a very tactic topic for me. All right. The very fundamental reason why I chose tactic over here is that it's more for people who are not in the education scene. Okay, I think that if you're a kid or student, you are in the education scene. If you're a tutor or teacher, you're in the education scene. But if you're a parent, you're often not in the education scene because you send your kid to school and your kids come back. So whatever transpired within the school itself, this show, maybe in a more dramatic and exaggerated way, but it sheds light on the struggles that a kid will have. All right, it might not be very localized to a Singapore context, but I think something that is very analogous between Korea, South Korea, Singapore, and any kind of this developed nation is the stress that the kid is facing. And because if there's no stress, then there will be no need for them to want to divert to do online gambling. Things like that, or seek refuge in social media. All right, and also maybe want to exact their revenge as a bully. It's not like that. So I think the plight of a student, I think, is not to be dismissed. I think, but this growing pains. All right, I think we acknowledge that education is actually important, but educators also have problems dealing with them. And I feel that parents have to be a bit more pensive, I say, whenever there is issues. So work together to details itself from there.
I think this morning you sent me on social media that this show actually did have a real impact, right, in Korea.
Yes.
Because like now Korea actually set up a proper ministry or department at least to deal with teacher rights.
Correct.
Right. I think maybe they probably won't be as
like what the show like.
The show. Do you think that Singapore should do this also?
I feel Singapore should do this because, like I say, educators are assets. All right, and we have to protect the assets. And I think that teaching itself is not a very sexy job, It's not like you fall off the bandwagons like, want to be a teacher. Like, I often feel that teacher is a calling. All right, it's a calling. And sometimes if you are in the teaching profession and you do it just for the money and not for passion, it's very difficult to sustain in the long run. So I feel that if I know that I'm in this profession and I'm being protected by any kind of a governmental kind of a support, I feel that I am being loved by the government. I'm being treasured. So again, for the viewers out there, I strongly recommend, whether you're an educator or not, it's also a comical show. So you can get a good laugh over it.
Just
all right,
watch the show.
Okay, and it's a little bit lighthearted, but I think it also brings everyone to be a bit more cognizant of all the things that the parents, the tutors, as well as students
face, right?
face. All right, thank you.
Thank you.